Hi, welcome back to 1/6 RC Tank Workshop. I'm John. This is part 4 in the series on working on the Armortek early Tiger 1. In this episode I'll be working on the rear plate of the Tiger 1 and also some of the lower hull. I'm just doing some work modifying the exhaust stacks. It uses M3 screws, which leaves a screw thread showing. So to cover this up, you can use some tubing. I didn't have any tubing, so I just drilled out some on the lathe. And this is how it looks when it's fitted. You can't see the screw threads anymore, it looks much better. So these are some of the parts I'm going to be fitting in this episode. For the rear, I have this toolbox. This is for the inertia starter. This was a white metal casting, very basic, but I've added a lot of detail to it. And here are new bump stops in brass. These were Steve Winston's bump stops. I've done some work on the exhaust stacks. These are the mud guards I've made. They're the correct version for an early Tiger. These ones I make myself. And the exhaust shrouds. I wanted to put the banding detail on here, but I don't have any in stock at the moment, so I'll just fit them as they are for now. I had some standoffs to fit this on with, but I can't find them. I've looked everywhere, so I've just made a few from some square bar. So let's get fitting these parts. I hope you find the video interesting. If so, please remember to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button and the like button. Thank you. I'll be fitting my spacers. You can just see the M3 screws here and the spacers fitted. I'm securing the shrouds in place using M3 nuts. The exhaust shrouds are now in place, and I'm going to remove the excess with the Dremel. This is the starter guide plate. This would have been the one introduced around May 1943 with the new HL230 P45 engine. Previous versions would just have a single opening here. These are my rear mud guards that I've made. They're all brass and they're appropriate for the early model. And they'll fit on just like here. So next, to devise a way to fit these mud guards. I've drilled in 1.8mm holes, and I've threaded these using a steel cap head screw, an M2. And now I've test fitted the mudguards in place. So let's drill out the hole for the other mudguard. Next we tap for an M2 thread using the M2 cap head steel screw. It taps really easily into the aluminium. And now I have the mudguards in place, held in place with M2 countersunk screws. It looks much neater now. I might file these flat and fill over them. And now let's get the mudguard in place, replacing the hinge pin. And now the mudguard is back in place. It's working smoothly. I'll probably put a convoy light in here. I'll have to make one. Here we have the rear mudguards in an unpainted state. These are for a customer, and also a set of front mudguards. I'll be making the front mudguards for my own Tiger soon as well. And now it's starting to look much more complete. Here we have the track toolbox in place and rear mudguards. The rear mudguards are held in place with M2.5 countersunk screws. Next, I'll be fitting these bump stops. They don't fit in the same place as the Armortek bump stops, so I've filled the holes and I'll find new locations for these. I'll be securing them in place with M3 screws, and I have some brass castellated nuts. Positions now located for the bump stops. And here we have the bump stops in place. There's a remaining detail to be added in here. It's a track pin knocker, but I don't have the Armortek part, so I'll try to make a replacement part. And that would complete the underside of the hull. And now I've fitted the exhausts in place as well. There are a few more details that need to be looked at. Fitting the retaining bolts to the tow hook. Also the cover here where the starter would be located. I don't have the part, so I need to make something for there. At the moment I have the heat shields fitted with screws coming from the inside and just nuts holding them in place. It's just temporary. I need to see if I can find the correct square retainers. Armortek produced some which are threaded for M3 screws, and I have some nice reduced head M3 screws. So I will either find the ones I'm missing or get some new ones, or possibly make them. This is a small indicator piece. This was produced with the Armortek kit. It's a very early piece from, I think, 2005 release. It's made of white metal. Very little detail. It just fits here. I may use this for now, make some small adjustments to it, but make something more detailed. I also need to fit the tow hooks here, which again is some part I don't have. Some holes to fill in. I think this was the original location point for the inertia starter, but it's in the wrong place, so I fill those holes. And also the rear of this tank, I think it was from a later model. It has the holes here for the shackles, which weren't fitted on the early Tiger, so I'll fill in those holes as well. The starter handle would fit down here. The Armortek parts are fitted with M3 bolts, which are a bit big, so I'm going to fill them in, and I'll be using some of the Armortek's clamps. I'm going to fill up some of the holes with milliput. These are the holes for the jack, but I'm unlikely to use the same locations. And the same with the holes for the shackles. I've made up these track pin knockers just with some strips of aluminium that I found. I'd like them to be a bit deeper, but I may go back to these at a later stage. They're just made of aluminium. I'll fill in the screw holes with some milliput. I also had this very old casting of a jack, which I've added some rivet detail. I'll add some more details before fitting it. It won't be 100% detail, but it'll be better than this piece. To replace the starter cover, I found this spare part. It's actually a front air vent from a Tiger 1. I'll be able to reduce this down to fit in position as the inertia starter cover. I think this is good to go for the basic shape and size. So now just to remove the back end. For the next part of the operation, I'm going to change out the jaws to take the larger piece. I'm using a 4-jaw chuck, and each of the jaws is numbered, and there's a corresponding number in each slot. Starting with slot 1 and jaw 1, I rotate until I can just see the first part of the screw engaging. To close, rotate clockwise, and the first is engaged. Then find jaw number 2, pop it in, second jaw is engaged. Number 3, rotate, third jaw is engaged. Finally number 4. All jaws are engaged. So now let's just remove some material off the back. And now in with the center drill. Followed by the 3-mirror drill. And finally, here's the finished part, all ready to fit. And I've added a cone head to an M3 thread. So this will fit on the rear now. So here I've fitted the cover, and also I've secured the tow hook with the 2 castellated nuts. So I'll finish up here on this video and hopefully be back with more soon. Big thank you for watching. I'll put a video here, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thank you. See you again soon.